Need new beats for your headphones? Check out eMusic. Over 2 million tracks. Log on and get 25. Head banging,
roof raising,
speakers cracking, slow dancing,
hips grinding,
beats slamming,
treble tweaking,
tunes. That's 25 free MP3s.
Get it at
emusic.podshow.com.
He walks on the street from Chelsea to Times Square, a personal chef without his cookware. He tells his stories with his mean pin named Steve. Viva remarkable, Steve, remarkable, viva remarkably Mark.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the second in the series of special Podcamp Philly podcasts. And this was the second in this series of sessions about the ADM, the Association for Downloadable Media. This session took place in the afternoon, and it was led by Lee Gibbons, who is the founder and CEO of Podango. And on the panel were Gretchen Vogelsang from MommyCast, Matthew Snodgrass from Porter Novelli, and John C. Havens, who is one of the lead organizers of Podcamp NYC. And just like the first session, it was really lively. There was a bunch of people in there that had lots of questions, lots of comments, and lots of great thoughts. So here is part two.
So some of you are carrying over from the earlier discussion about the ADM, and we're all here to talk about industry association, that sort of thing. Is that right? That's the flight we're on. If that's not what you're intending, now would be a good time to get off the plane. But I am interested in knowing where you do think we're going. So I'd like to open this up. First of all, let's introduce the people on the panel in case you don't know them. And then I'm going to kind of turn the mic your direction, and let's talk about what you're hoping for from this session so that we walk out of here fulfilled, all right? So first of all, let's start with you, Gretchen. Introduce yourself, and we'll move down to Matt and John.
I'm Gretchen Vogelsang, and I'm a co-host along with my partner, Paige Henninger of MommyCast.
And the Red Sox jersey in the back there.
Go Phillies!
Phillies and Sox fans.
I'm Matt Snodgrass. I work for Porter Novelli in digital marketing. Coincidentally, along with Gretchen's husband, Paul, who works in Porter Novelli in our DC office. Familial, I guess.
That's one word for it. Yeah.
Just ADM.
Oh, and a member of ADM.
I'm John Havens. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Blog Talk Radio, lead organizer for Podcamp NYC, and also a member of ADM.
And previously, some of us know you from your About.com days, being the podcast guy there. I didn't use the right term, though. You were the guide. I left the last D off of that. I think my plosives were terrible. So anyhow, yeah, thanks for the introductions. Any questions for any of these guys about what they do? I'm Lee Gibbons. I'm CEO of Podango, and that's who I am. Now, any questions for anybody here really quickly about any extensions of those thoughts, what they do, what their angle is on the association? I think it's kind of obvious, right? We have podcasters, we have providers of services, and we have advertising and PR. So it's an interesting mix of folks to have the conversation with, but even more interesting than that is on the other side of the desk here. What are you hoping for from this session? Information, what are your thoughts, David?
Well, I was at the earlier session, and I'd like to get some clarification about, there were analogies made between like association and union. There were comments made about, standards, thoughts were brought up about, whether or not there's, pricing models, and what people are to expect, once a certain quality level is set by, let's say, an association like the ADM, what that means for all the podcasters that are out there.
Good. Other thoughts on what we'd like to walk out of here with? Yes?
I'd like to understand the charter, what the mission is, and what the goals are of ADM.
Okay. Their mission and charter is stated on the association. It's Association for Downloadable Media.org or com.
Org.
Okay. So you can find that there.
30 words or less. What's your main objective?
I'm a member of the ADM, having joined. I'm not a founding member of the ADM. So I wasn't around to vote on all of that stuff or put that initial framework in place. First of all, the disclaimer that I'm told that is also something that can be defined or redefined by the membership as the thing forms. So right now what you really have is a shell. And that shell can be filled with what podcasters want to fill it with in a certain sense. However, with that stated, the primary mission, if you have association for downloadable media, it's to do stuff around downloadable media. And one of the chief concerns there is, how do you monetize it? One of the chief concerns about monetization is people are used to dealing with either Nielsen ratings, or they're used to Arbitron or something like that to be able to get some standards around, you know, what is an audience? How do you measure that audience? And those standards are, I think, the core of what motivated Susan Broughton and some of the other good folks to get together and do the right thing to start to push the ball forward toward an association. In the course of that, my view is that there's some overreaching to try to make sure everybody feels like it's a big enough tent. But those are adjustments that are going to be made over time. That's why you see some of the inconsistency. You had 3 members of the ADM up here this morning with kind of 3 different stories, right? And some preferences as to where they'd like to see it go. So that's my answer. How would you guys augment that answer?
That's a great answer. Yeah, me too.
It's a start of an answer. So
yeah,
well, are you satisfied with that answer?
I think what I heard you say was a shell that can be basically anything the membership decided to be that's focused on digital download media. So, and it sounds like the primary issues surrounding it right now are rates and ratings and how to measure that. Is that right? Is that better?
In as much, I mean, again, this is for me, in as much as, I mean, I'm sort of in a unique position that I frankly have no vested interest in the success of podcasting. I'll have a job either way at a PR agency if it fails or success.
And I surely cannot say that.
I love what podcasting has done, opened up unrestricted, unfiltered voice from people that are experts in the field, whatever that field may be it motherhood, be it weddings, and it doesn't have that slant on it that it came from a corporate reference, or you always question it. Was it Fox News? Well, what was their agenda behind saying that? It's just like, here's my brain in an MP3, and that's one of the things I love about it. I love the industry. I love the potential of where it's going. Over this last year, I'm worried about the lack of growth and the filtering off of growth as we go from 05 at 11% of the U.S. to only 13% in 06 adopting podcasting. I'd like to see that keep going up. And to go back and answer some of the questions, union, no, that was probably just a bad term that maybe somebody, I don't know, brought up. but believe me, his heart was in the right place, because it was a great analogy as being an actor and what Screen Actors Guild can do for an individual in as much as that. This is not a union, it is an industry group, much like the IAB or the MMA or the NAB or any other industry group. And in terms of standardizations, again, we're making mistakes along the way of, we have the best interests at heart, and we think we've communicated the right way, and we realize we haven't. Lee's been a great resource to us to go, you didn't really communicate it the right way. You might have had good intentions behind it, but there's these other assumptions, and we go, oh, yeah, we see how it could have been taken that way, and that's not what we meant. So a term like standardization, which we throw around in the agency world as a term that means something, does not by any means mean you must adhere to these standards. It's just a means of facilitating advertisers to go, oh, I know what I'm getting if I were to buy on your show.
Yeah, and I want to touch on, we had lunch and talked about aspects of our talk this morning. It's the first time we did it. So I used the word union. I'm obviously never going to use that term again.
What was that word again?
I said this is an analogy to union. All I meant is that when you talk to somebody, you have to have a common language. And when I was an actor, not for ADM, when I was an actor, being in the union meant very quickly a producer, a director knew that I was a union actor. They had to pay me a certain amount of money. There were laws and rules regulating it. That I don't want to use scary language with the ADM. That was my acting background. What I liked about the union, there were a lot of things I didn't. One thing I liked is I worked hard to get in that union. I got health insurance for that union. ADM is not promising that. My point is that what I see an opportunity for us to do in the podcasting space, even if it's not ADM, is to say, here's a bunch of things all of us agree on as content creators. That's my background, is as a podcaster as well as being a writer and in now the network space. Here's a bunch of things we agree on, and this is the inherent value a monetary value as well as the fact that we're so passionate about it. And now, hey, advertisers or other people who may pay us, we want to communicate that value as a unified voice. Will there be disagreements before that unified voice comes forward? Of course. Will certain people make more money and other people lose money? Of course, we live in the real world. But if as a unified force an advertiser starts to see, oh, you know, Lee's show on whatever gets 10,000 downloads, or MommyCast reaches moms effectively, and I want to pay them, I want to make darn sure that the advertisers don't have to spend 3 hours, and with all due respect, come to a Podcamp even. I want to see in 10 seconds or less, they can go to her site, see a piece of literature, and know it. And if it's ADM, great. But anyway, that's my whole point about union. Lose that analogy altogether. I just mean a certain conversation that right away people know, oh, you do this, now we can talk and maybe have business.
You know, another way to say that very quickly is we're trying to go fast, right? You're trying to facilitate frictionless interactions around money. Two things do that. If you have a common language, I mean, what if we had to negotiate what $1 was worth every time we walk up to the counter in the grocery store? It wouldn't help us a lot in terms of getting through there very quickly. Seems slow enough already, right? The second thing is you have to have trust. You have to be able to trust that that standard exists and that there's kind of a stamp of approval. There are some organizations that have given that to old media. This is a new media trying to grow up very quickly. And I think that that's what this is about. It's about establishing lingua franca and trust. And when you get to those two things, then you can start to go faster. And some of that means there has to be some standardization and some argument about how to get to that standardization.
Mark had a question.
So, thanks, man.
Mark, and then we'll come up to
How,
Robert.
I'm not even sure exactly how I'm trying to ask this, but it sounds confrontational, but it's really not meant to be. How is this different from, say, an organization like Podshow, and how would this organization be different from Podshow?
In no way would we even attempt to think that we have anything to do with your content whatsoever. It's no sort of business envelope above your production or your content in no way, shape, or form. As an industry group, it lives merely alongside of the track of podcasting as an industry, as a resource, as to facilitate it. Frank Neal, who is a long-standing radio guy in Philadelphia and has done radio in Florida and North Carolina and Philadelphia for a long time, had a great example actually at lunch of finding information that was related to an ad buy in New Mexico.
Well, I equated this organization to the RAB in radio, which is simply Radio Advertising Bureau, and it's simply a resource for information. In and of itself, the organization promotes radio as a whole, not individual stations or individual companies, but rather the values and benefits of it to the advertising community as an industry. There's white papers on success stories for radio station WWZX in Cleveland for whatever advertising category. And it's a way to, if you are looking to monetize your podcast, there's a simpler way to do it. There's an information share, and there's sort of a sense of community in promoting podcasting, legitimizing it as a whole.
Sorry, I know there's a question there, but I guess part of the question was missing the way I asked it was, it sounds confrontational, I know it's bad. My fear is, in a situation like this, as good as it is, that finances always drive a wedge into the equation, drives a wedge into people. There's a great community of people here at Podcamp Philly, and there are people who would be concerned about how much airtime they get with both the advertising dollars and with the promotion when people are talking about podcasting. And maybe it's too early to actually be able to answer this question, but is any thought being given to how to keep everybody as a cohesive unit? We're not going to unions, but make sure everybody's on the same page, everybody's happy, everybody's comfortable with the situation. It's
a great question, and to clarify, the ADM would in no way be the vessel by which advertising dollars flow to podcasts. In no way whatsoever. Podcasts can still work on their own to go after advertisers, but being a member of the ADM, they can go, oh, we're now speaking the same language. We now understand that your idea of an ad unit in podcasting is my idea of an ad unit in podcasting. Or if you bring that up to the network level, a network can use that same language, like a Podango can say, this is the means by which I communicate with, being a larger network entity, with advertisers, or with agencies, or with buyers. And as long as we can all decide on what the common language is, along with many member benefits that are, true and tangible that John actually helped develop, is in no way to be at the table of any money being changed hands.
I actually look for it as a benefit to help me know kind of how podcasters are viewing their audiences. They can plug into my organization quickly or into another one. They can leave my organization and plug in somewhere else very quickly and have some consistency. I think you need that freedom as podcasters to move, to do what you feel like you need to do what's best for your thing. Let's go to Robert's question, and I'm going to ask Gretchen a question if you don't mind, because she's been president of a dance association that's is it international?
National.
It's national, it's North American, and has some really interesting learnings from that go right at the heart of your question and some other points too. But let's get your question on the table first, Robert.
I'm very excited about this prospect of formation of this organization, and I'm looking at this purely as a trade association, in my mind, is how I'm equating it, of which I've been a member of many. My concern is that it seems that we're opening this up to everybody who can be a part of this. So if you're a potential advertiser, then I've got a potential client as a member of this organization helping to shape it and make decisions. From a business perspective, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. As content providers, as podcasters, we're looking to shape this in our best interest. Do we really want our customers in there negotiating for their best interest in how we shape this organization? That was the only thing that kind of struck me is, well, why do I want my customer in this negotiation here? I think as a content provider, I need to be making those decisions with other like-minded content providers, and then we approach the world of sponsors and say, okay, here's what we've got. Now, not to say that, input isn't important from our potential clients, but is it appropriate for them to be part of this organization as well? I
think this particular question is probably going to scope what ADM will be as much as anything else, because you need a certain mix of people to solve a certain kind of problem. And my belief is that the people that are at the table in the founding membership of the ADM are the right group to solve the particular problem we're talking about how do you measure what a listener is. Can they buy into that? Can a Matt Snodgrass sit with a Gretchen Vogelzang and look at each other and say, yeah, that's what we call a listener. That's what we call a unique download. Some things like that. When you start to get to some other things that are going to be a little bit separate, there may need to be a separate organization. And that's kind of what caused this conversation to take place initially, was that there were some people that were kind of coming from your angle going, wait a minute, I'm a podcaster. Why don't we have all the podcasters get together and do something? And yet there's people who are very interested in podcasting as an industry who also need to get together, and those may not be the same thing.
So then this really is an organization that's looking to set standards of some sort rather than create something for the industry as a...
That's what needs to be decided by
it's really more of a standards body.
The goal wasn't to be a podcasters users group. The goal was to sort of raise the tide so all boats float higher, or all boats rise, to foster the industry, not just be like a podcaster user.
And it was centered around monetization. That was a key driver. And why my money's in is because that's what we do for a living.
I also think that that's also short-term.
And that's why, Doug, you called me and said, my money's in. Is your money in? I said, it really ought to be.
I think that's more short-term. I think more long-term. We need to think about a bigger picture about content protection, intellectual property protection, and copyrights, and that sort of stuff. And that's the greater goal, I think, down the line today. It's let's all get together, agree to disagree on some stuff, sort of work out the kinks, and then down the line, there's more power as a group. I mean, because ultimately, once we start, that's what my company does. We create original content for the web. We don't want our stuff out there, someone just throwing it out there and stealing it. I mean, right now it's promotion, great, but down the line, we want to start getting paid for that stuff.
Good. On the same subject, or moving into a different one? Same subject,
Robert
please.
actually has a really good point in that if you've got people at the same table who have inherently divergent interests, it makes it very difficult, because that, what rises the tide for some people actually says, whoa, I'm drowning, for other people. So it could, it's a tricky aspect,
for an industry
for
group.
people who are deciding whether they want to join. It's like,
absolutely.
If we have to join in order to to help shape how it will be, and then it turns out to go out in a direction which is divergent from our interests, then where does that leave us?
But you can change it from within.
Be persuasive. It's a
Yeah, I mean,
reasonable answer.
as an industry group,
It's not going to fit for everybody. It's not going to fit for everybody.
no, it'll be a trade organization, and much like the NAB, the IAB, the MMA, or the RAB, everyone's in all those organizations as well. Like 4As are in IAB, and Microsoft's in IAB,
And I think there's a clarity issue that I think is pretty paramount. That, Mark, you were saying before, I think it was Mark, there's no way everyone's going to be happy. I want to state that. No matter what happens in the future, if there's no association of podcasting of any kind, I quite firmly think that in some ways podcasting will die. Meaning companies won't care that podcasting, whatever, they'll just say, I attach a fee to it, it's a distribution model, great. And what I care about and have been so passionate about for the past 2 years, and in many ways will go away, because it's content. So first of all, no one's going to be happy. So, or I should say, there's some people that are not going to be happy. However, to Mark's...
There's an association or not, you're right.
Yeah, so if there is an association, I also want to state whatever it is, ADM, whatever it becomes, there are going to be people that aren't going to be happy. So I want to make sure that in a community standpoint, we talk about community and happy and all these things. There's an aspect to the community which is also, there are hard choices to make. So also Mark had a great comment about what the market will bear in terms of pricing. That's a very important question. But I think in this room and probably in podcasting in general, the number of people who would raise their hands who say with their podcast, not even working in a podcasting focused business, how many people make a living? The hands, if there were 100,000 people in the room that went up, there would be what, 50? If we said how many people make their living off of selling advertising, how many hands would go up? Okay, well my point being that in general I think not having a voice is a scarier proposition than having one where you come to the table and you are a unified force and saying, whoa, to the people, because long story short, I'm not saying advertisers have all the power, but if they're ignorant of what we do, if they don't really care, if they don't see money quickly, we're not even on their radar screen. So I'd rather be on the radar screen and risk it. And again, folks like you are smart enough, it's a standard. It doesn't mean that you still have to stick with it.
No, I was just bringing up the point that if they're in on it too, then there's necessarily going to be a little bit of...
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
there will be some.
And we have to have their interest at heart, well, because they have the money. But to give you a real world example, and I actually want to get to Gretchen's example, I did a deal a couple months ago between one of our advertisers and a podcast. It wasn't the Momcast, because we do a lot with Momcast, but it wasn't this one. And because it's still a new medium, and the way you do a sponsorship and set it up is a lot of back and forth, and well, what does this mean, and when are they going to mention it, how are they going to mention it, they talk about the product, and what's the downloads. We probably spent, I mean, if I estimated it in terms of my billable hours and other people on the team, and their billable hours that they would dedicate on it, probably about $8,000 in billable hours spent negotiating a $15,000 contract. And that can't happen. We can't reinvent the wheel every time. I mean, somebody like Podango is just saying, here's a way to facilitate it easily. We think this is a good way to do it. So he's creating a path of least resistance because he doesn't have time to spend 40 hours on every deal that he does.
You can't do it with hundreds and hundreds of podcasters like we have. You can't do it. Will you please go in a little bit to the dance situation?
Yeah.
Because that was one where you saw some of the uglies fall out. You're on the other side of it. You're kind of on the elegant side of the solution. We're not.
Well,
give us some guidance.
When I first heard, I've been the president of this organization for 5 years, and I've been a member of it in one form or another for 35 years. And it's a 50-year-old organization, and the way it is structured is exactly what I think this organization needs to consider.
That's why I'm so excited to have you up here talking about this, because there was a lot I learned just in our
conversation.
conversation.
When I first started talking about this, to me, I just saw Wild Wild West. I saw gunfights going off with all of these people coming from all of these different walks of life, and they're all very opinionated and extraordinarily vocal. And I'm thinking, how is this possible that we're even going to get to first base on trying to resolve some of these things? This is how RDA is set up. First of all, you have the United States. Something like that. Whatever.
Close enough for jazz.
Yeah. The United States and our organization is divided into 5 regions. You've got the Northeast, the Southeast, the Mid-States, the Southwest, and the Pacific. Each one of these regions has their own association, and each one is a nonprofit organization. All of them, nonprofit.
And they've all filed separately for...
All have their own 501c3. They all meet twice a year, and they all talk about the issues that they're facing in their region here. The organization that I'm president of is the umbrella, and that's RDA. 2 representatives from each region are on this board of directors. And those are voted on by each region. So now, instead of having 3,000 people wanting to be in this conversation, you've elected representatives, and you've got now 10.
So here we are in Philadelphia talking about a government by representation. I don't know, there's a rhythm to it.
Okay. Now, here's one of the things that, I hear kind of from the discussion here. Is being a member of this organization going to be an endorsement of standards? It is for RDA. In order to become a member of RDA, you have to adhere to some standards. We do not dictate the style of dance. We do not dictate what dancers you have in your company, what technique you follow. We don't dictate anything. But there has to be a level of standard. You have to have 2 paid performances each year that people pay to come and see. You have to be a nonprofit organization. You have to have a certain level of technical ability apparent in your company in order to be a member. Once you become a member, you can go out and say, I'm a member of RDA. That elevates people, that elevates these companies in the eyes of what we are after as professional dance companies. We're the farm team, basically, for professional dance companies. And so that's kind of how this works. So is it an endorsement of standards? If you don't want it to be an endorsement of standards, then anybody can be a member. If you want it to be an endorsement of standards, then it's going to get into a selective process. We leave that selection to each region. So each region here, we set down basic guidelines. Each region here has their own set of guidelines on how you become a member that coordinate with those basic guidelines. But it's not dictator by any means. And once you become a member of the region, you have been endorsed by the organization. Now, I know the 4As works that way. The American Association of Advertising Agencies. In order to become a member of the 4As, you have to, there's a screening process that goes on into effect. And once you've passed that screening process, and I know it's a rigorous process, but then you can put, I'm a member of the 4As. And once you do that, you're in a different league altogether. What are the benefits that come from being a member of RDA? There's a lot of different ones. I mean, I'm sure you've already said you've got, benefits. I mean, everybody's got their own benefits. Benefits for this isn't going to necessarily be what podcasters are interested in. But being a member of RDA brings benefits. It brings an endorsement of standards. And the way that it's set up makes it a manageable organization, an organization that can actually have forward movement as opposed to infighting and running around in circles, which is my biggest concern. The last thing we want to do is form an organization that doesn't get anywhere and makes us look like a bunch of circus people.
But what did that organization look like 50 years ago?
Exactly this way. It has stood up over 50 years.
And when it,
I take that back.
Yeah, well, when it was first formed,
It was the Southeast region started. The Southeast region started with a festival, a dance festival, where they had 8 member companies. And then that led to the Northeast, and then that led to the Southwest Pacific and the Mid-States. Mm-hmm. So it started with one region. Now, what's interesting is we've kind of got that starting in podcasting. You've got an association in the Northeast, correct? Sort of.
One in the UK for sure.
In the UK, I mean, you've got podcaster associations starting
Orange
out
County Podcast
already. And so I think it's kind of interesting how people are starting to gravitate in that direction anyway.
And you also have,
I'm sorry?
Who's the association in the Northeast?
What is it?
The New England Podcast.
New England Podcasters Association, right.
Well, people from Philadelphia would join up with people in the New England.
Evans, no. You need another one. The point is, if you take a regional, so what I'd like to do is open for questions.
But I just wanted to add just a little bit of this, that there have been associations for podcasting that have been thematic as well.
What's a geographic boundary?
So, for
It may not be
example,
that it's
we had a
map,
global,
but we talk
the Association of Music Podcasting is probably one of the first, it's not a fully vetted nonprofit association, but it was a first bound together, over 100 people membered, global in nature. So there have been ways of organizing based upon, sounds like there's geographic distinctions, there's thematic distinctions, there may be policy distinctions. The point is that there are structures that have addressed specific needs for specific constituencies. And here's an example of it being effective for that constituency.
So I have two questions, and then I'd like to ask the question, therefore what? So let's go here first and then to the back, if you don't mind.
I'm Station Marco. I belong to the Association of Independents in Radio, which is an international organization and goes way beyond radio. It's audio. And every single person on there is a podcaster. We're journalists that have all been contacted privately by corporations, and we're making more money being podcasters than we are being journalists. So we do both. And we also have the equipment and the ability to,
Yeah, your radio's separate.
It's nothing. We don't have to think a thing about it to do what we're doing. But interestingly enough, I belong to an organization where NPR has the motherload of podcasts going on.
They have like 10 million downloads a month. Did you realize that number?
And they're a member of our organization, while independent producers are bitching left and right about what they're getting paid, what they feel they should be getting paid, what they think they should have access to, the whole pod safe music thing. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff. So I see this discussion all day long. I mean, it's just nonstop. And it is backbiting, where you'll get an email saying, if you go to NBA Podcaster, they told me they paid me $300 a podcast, so you better not try to undercut me. And I was like, I'm going to say $750, and too bad if you lose. There is a certain amount of, wild, wild west still going on, I think, and I know people that charge day rates of $2,000.
There are people behind bars for having those conversations, by the way.
What?
If you're in the oil business and you own a gas station on opposing corners and you have that conversation, you're in deep stuff.
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff, that bothered me. So
but it's a good point you're making.
And the podcaster turned out to be somebody that was like, when our advertising dollars make it, we'll pay you more. And I'm like, no, that's a bad business plan, so I'll move along. But it has seemed like uncharted waters until about the past 6 months or more, where many, many people are starting to make quite a good income and get regular clients, but there is no standard, I guess, as to,
So do you feel there's a need for that? Is that the next step for you?
I think it'd be nice to set some standards in relation to whether it has to be thematic, as to those that are doing industrial podcasts. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say we want to hire journalists to do this because they know how to do the stuff already, and it'll be quality sound, as opposed to just sending anybody out there with their own microphone and
That
iPod.
big T word, that trust word, you've established yourself there, so that makes sense.
I mean, I have Drexel's Medical School as my first private. I trademarked the name of their podcast and never even thought to charge for that because I was just being cute. It's like, I'll call it the Medcast, that'll be fun. But, so you learn, I think it'd be great to have an organization that says, if you're going to go cold call somebody and say, why aren't you podcasting? And then you should call it this. What do you charge for the marketing side? What do you charge for the I host it, you script it,
even if it's white paperish, guideline-ish kind of stuff, it would be helpful information.
So would the Association of Downloadable Media, I guess, be able to provide those type?
It depends on what the leadership of that organization decides to do. But I think it's important that we come to some of these things about organizational structure. Can let's go to the back and yes.
I just want to add one thing. Policy, what the national organization does in terms of policy is dictated by the regions. So it's dictated by the smaller organization. So what we deal with on the national board are directly the issues that are brought up by the membership, number one. Number two, one of the other things that I saw in my head when I started hearing about this is that there are podcasting associations that are very influential and have a lot of power, and then there are small podcasters who have virtually, very few listeners. The thing that I was really concerned about is that there was an equality that was brought into this picture. I didn't want the conversation to be dictated by somebody or some entity that has had a lot of power in the organization. And by doing it this way, where it's true representation, you get everybody onto the same foot. And I think that's going to be really important for the trust level.
Yeah, we tried to adjust that, and it's a great point, because an example of if an Apple pays $1,000 to become a member, or Podshow becomes $1,000 to become a member, and Wedding Podcast Network pays $150 to become a member, they each have the same number of votes, one. He has an equal voice as Apple does in the decision-making process of the ADM. I think everybody here, every time I come to these podcamps, somebody's got some brilliant new tactic, scheme, idea, content, delivery method, methodology, file format, something that goes, that's brilliant. And wouldn't it be great if everybody knew that and everybody could start using that, so everyone could benefit from Whitney's one idea? Or everybody could benefit from, I mean, setting up a network. I mean, a lot of people started podcasts as, hey, it's the blah blah show. And I think like Robert and I forgot your name. Holly had the brilliant idea earlier on of calling a network. They could add as many shows as they wanted to in their network. So their brand became a network instead of a show that then started to have to splinter off others. That a problem some of you may have run into if you get a successful podcast. Hey, I want to do the spin-off, but it's sort of now its own entity. So those types of ideas, bring it to the ADM. I mean, the ADM, what it is now, it's 3 letters, it's a URL, and what we hope it is, it's the mind share and input of everyone. Nothing's been decided.
And also, can I make a distinction that I don't think we've talked about? We talk about different podcasting organizations that exist like they're an association. They're businesses, right? Podshow is a business. It is a for-profit business. An association, as I understand it, it's not there to make money. I'm not interested in spending so much time that I've already spent to whatever if I'm not going to get paid and I already work. So, you get my point? Like, let's clarify terms. An association is not a business. Robert runs a very profitable and smart business because he wants to eat and pay his bills. An association protects a number of businesses or individuals. So I'd like to clarify, we can call it whatever we want, but this current thing is an association. It is not a business. So there's other big powerful entities that are businesses. As Matt pointed out, one person can come from that company, or 5 if they pay that whatever price, but then one person can come who started podcasting yesterday, pay the money, and if they say something in a meeting or they vote, it doesn't make a difference. They raise their hand, their vote is as powerful as whoever.
Well, by way of example, the thing was started by Susan Broughton, who was getting her tips and tricks on podcasting from Gretchen and these guys at Macworld. She hadn't started yet. It was March that she really did her first episode. And she's in organizing this, so I think that's cool. It's one thing I really liked about it, is that you get I've been here since 2003, and mine was probably the first kind of I'm not saying this about me, by way of example, and you get other people that are contributing ideas. Yes?
I suggest, I've formed groups a lot of times. You seem to have a nucleus there, maybe there are a bunch of other people. You have a vision, put it together, and see how many people buy into it. I buy into it. I frankly don't need to give you my input into what else I think I would want to get out of this association. But I hear of your vision. Is there some level of egalitarian? Yes, Gretchen's put up what I think is a very easy to understand geographical structure to it. Meet amongst yourselves, say this is our vision, this is what we envision. See how many other people want to get involved with it. Use this as a place for feedback to get sure any other ideas you might not want to miss. But
yeah, it's actually,
frankly, I wouldn't spend a lot of time getting input from 1,000 people. That's a wild, wild west way of doing things.
well, the structure how it's going to be set up, and great, because that's a great segue to structurally how any organization will be set up and how we propose that this one will be set up. Things will be set up on a committee level. If you go to the website, you'll see that there's 5 proposed committees on member benefits, terminology, ad standards, membership drive, member outreach, and you can, as a member, you can get on that committee. So if you are here and you're raising your hand like, "Ooh, I got an idea," you get on that committee, so you have like that larger voice to say, as a committee, this is how we're going to come out with member benefits. There's a committee chair that then reports to the, I believe the advisory board or the executive board that a decision is made to then implement or not implement, but it's at the committee level when the real nitty-gritty work is going to be done.
So to be real clear just for a moment, and not that it matters a lot, but just by way of clarification here, Matt and John participated in the original organization of the ADM. Gretchen and I did not. Okay. And not that it matters a lot at this point. Matt and I had a conversation after I learned about it. I said, "What? Give me a phone call." I had the same conversation with John. But they did what you suggested. They got in and got started. That organizational structure that Matt was just talking about, I think works well for executing and getting some things done for the association itself. I don't think it has the representation in it that Gretchen was talking about, and that's why I've been a little bit vocal and have tried to be an amplifier for Scott Bourne and Leo Laporte and some of the other people that were kind of in this, kind of quiet echo chamber, the one whispering very loudly, "That's not right."
And blogging.
He didn't blog quietly. I guess it's hard to do. Yeah.
It's 3:45 right now.
Okay.
Nesbitt.
The auditorium bus is wrapped up. She would like us all to be there on time.
So we need some time to get over there, right?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying?
Wrap up in 5
Do you
minutes.
want me to give you a time cue of some sort, like a 10-minute time cue? Or
Yeah, I think we're kind of at a 5-minute
it'll
limit
take
right
5 minutes to get
now.
over. We should hard stop.
So give us a 2-minute and then one of these, okay?
5
That'd be great, Mark. Thanks so much. Doug, and then David, and then we'll come over here,
I
okay?
think I was pointing out to Gretchen, what did that organization look like 50 years ago? It was probably ugly. I mean, I'm sure there was maybe there wasn't, but it was 50 years ago.
Right.
The fact is, it's like sausage. I mean, some people enjoy it. Nobody really wants to know how it's made.
Scrap it. I mean, you're in Philly.
Yeah, and here you go. And the fact is, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be bleeding. Not everybody's going to be happy, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something that brings the most amount of people forward and moves the industry forward as a whole. And there's going to be people that fall off. They're not going to like it. It just is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think the ADM is catering to people that don't even yet know they're a podcaster. There's the car salesman that knows a lot about wine that thinks that someday he's going to do a show because people like Lee and myself have the tools for them to do so. I think it's, this gentleman points out a valid point. I'd stop asking people and just get out there and do it, make it happen, and what's going to happen is.
Well, one thing that'll impress you about Susan doesn't wait for anyone. And she didn't have to go and get permission. And Lisa Barnes had a great blog post about this. She said, don't ask for permission, just go. And that's what Susan's done.
That's the nature of podcasting. Is like, that was some of the criticism, but it was like, unless she called the 14 people she knew, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
We'll just recruit a diverse and sort of wide group of people for these committees and stuff and reach out to a broader audience.
Yeah, that was one piece that came through.
So we have one tactical part, and I want to get back to the questions. If you do decide to join, there is a first large meeting at PNME on the Friday morning at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, I promise we'd come over here and then we'll.
Can't be there.
I'm sorry?
How will that be handled for people who cannot be there?
It's going to be recorded and podcast.
So no decisions will be made at that point?
No, it's just like
at that point. Okay.
more discussion. Now, at I believe October 8th at midnight, that's when the nomination period will end and voting will begin. So if you wish to be on a committee, if you wish to be a committee chair or on the advisory board or on the executive committee, because by no means do the current members of ADM have any power into being on the actual real board, no more than anyone sitting in here, because it's purely by a vote by a third-party online method.
And you can
that will happen.
self-nominate. So
if you wish to join and
you can
become a member,
self-vote.
I mean, it's about
on a committee, go log on.
You can be an army of one.
Go on the membership area. It's just write a 200-word little reason why I should be on whatever committee and just get submitted in.
Your point.
My question was for like a Podango or like a network type organization. Would we be sectioned off to where that's part of the country where we incorporated? If we're like doing a like national or international type network, like how would that work?
The organization or the members?
Like where would our voice come from if we're representing a network that's national or international?
Yeah. A lot of that's yet to be decided how logistically it will be handled. We're hoping to handled like with a lot of the new media tools we use now, so it's borderless. We, on the last member call we had, we heard voice concerns from the UK saying, are you going to have a meeting here? And it just happened that Podcamp UK and Ireland was happening too quickly, but we'd like this to just be borderless.
Yeah, short structural answer. It's a 501(c)(3) a trade association it's being created in the United States. There's no boundary to membership. It's a global membership. And as we've described, I don't think the bylaws that have not been fully vetted and created wouldn't preclude. In other words, we would allow, as far as I understand, any organization that has, an interest in being part of this conversation. I've not heard any kind of preclusions for
And
membership.
this new geographical purview, this is a great example. I mean, this is a wonderful paradigm, but it's not like if you join, you can only operate your network in the Northeast region.
Like people have to dance in a physical place, but you podcast wherever.
Yeah, it can be organized differently. But
Yeah.
you could get different group sizes, and you could allow people to form groups willy-nilly and have that representation still there, right? And then you could be a member of only a certain number of groups. There's ways to put rules in place that then National Association of Music Merchants and others follow in terms of their organizational structure that are similar. They're not dissimilar from what Gretchen has said.
Well, we have
You had a point. Yes.
we have different memberships. You have pre-professional members. You also have professional members. You also have modern dance companies.
So there are classifications that also kind of cut orthogonally to these others. Yeah.
Quick practical question about the model that you brought up, Gretchen, is if every member has one vote and then you've got this structure with this advisory board, how does that how do the votes on the member level get translated into the votes with these 10 reps?
These two people that come, at a meeting, the concerns that this microcosm has are discussed, and then this person brings that to the national board and sets the agenda for this organization.
And then that vote goes to the membership and they all vote individually, or do they vote on the regional level?
No, they make decisions up here.
It's like how Congress is
This
supposed
is
to work.
representation. This is representation. Yeah, except
So
without all
that's
of
what I'm
this.
saying. Then therefore, one member, one vote isn't really exactly that model.
It's one member,
No, it's
one
not.
vote here. But
So,
these people
yeah, these are
voted.
separate ideas,
And are
really.
they charged to vote on the council the way that
Yes.
their
Yes.
region
Yes.
told them to vote
And
by a
these
percentage,
people
by a 50%
voted,
or greater?
these two people, these representatives. So these people can take them out if they don't like
I guess
it.
what I'm asking is on each, like, let's say there's a resolution at play, do we all vote and then the majority says, okay, you two have to vote this way? Or are we just saying what we want them to vote and then they decide how they'll vote? Because that's how Congress
It
works and
depends.
some people don't like that.
Right, exactly, and it depends on what exactly is, in some ways there are general discussions, in some ways there are exact votes that happen. It depends on what's kind of going down, but and I just lost my train of thought, dang it. It was a good one.
It'll come right back.
It will.
As soon as we go on to
Okay.
something else, it'll come right back. And you just come
How often do the regions meet?
They meet twice a year. If there's more business, we meet via telephone conference.
So each region meets twice a year as well.
Gretchen, you're not suggesting that the ADM be formed like this? and
I
vote
am.
now. Oh, you
I am,
are?
because what he just said about whoever wants to be on a committee can be on a committee is not going to work. Pardon me. It's too much.
Yeah,
You can't
we
have
need that
100
kind of
people
input,
on a
yeah.
committee. You
And it could
cannot
be-
have 100 people on a committee and expect it to work.
Yeah, it could be a committee is formed of just 20 people.
Right, I think committees,
What if two
I think
people
you
form a
have committees here that vote, send policy here, and you've got committees here. But you cannot have anybody just join a committee and expect that committee to be effective. It's not gonna work.
It helps that people are elected into a representational position because self-interest can start to take a bit of a back seat. I can go join a committee about monetization and with, whatever I can bring as both a member and a lobbyist sort of member, a lobbyist member. It's a little dangerous. That's one of the concerns that came out of some of the comments in the surveys. And you're all welcome to see survey results as well. I'll give you a URL for that before we're done here. I think it's called newmediasurvey.org or something like that.
Well, you haven't said what that's from. You haven't said APOM yet.
No, because it doesn't exist. There was an informal working group, and Scott Bourne had a blog where he said APOMP, and we threw out 20 other names, and a lot of them did better than the ADM names. Some of them didn't. Some of them got laid an egg in terms of that.
Suffice to say, some serious work and effort has been put into considering not only the interest that's been espoused, I guess is the right word, by the ADM, but by a collection of people who are just interested in figuring out what is needed for this community and what the community is and what it serves.
That's 5 minutes.
Thank you.
How do we join?
So given that, we want to be across?
Downloadablemedia.org.
Go to the website.
There's it's not PayPal. It's
Thanks for your voices.
Google account. What's the payment? Online payment method? Not credit card.
Yes, there you can see.
Oh, credit card.
Viva remarkable, Steva, remarkable, viva remarkably Mark.
The best and the brightest served up daily by the sharpest minds in content delivery, Pod Show, and Limelight.